There's so much going on today in the metaverse. Today on Metaversity, your first stop for everything on the new frontier of everything metaverse and blockchain. This is Chris and Kristen, and we'll explore this new world together. So there is an incredible amount of news going on in the metaverse this week. So some of it we're a little behind on.
Not just metaverse, right? Like there's some crypto related stuff too, like blockchain. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking.
I know.
In the ideal world, it's all kind of works together. But yeah, absolutely. So kind of one of the first stories I wanted to hit on. We've talked many times on why Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency,
like Bitcoin
or Ethereum or whichever, could potentially give a lot of people a lot more freedom with their money as far as what they can do with it and how they can use it and that sort of thing.
You don't have to, it's a trustless thing.
Right.
And when I say that, what I mean is if you have your money in a bank, you have to trust that bank.
Right.
And in this blockchain world, you don't have to trust some entity. It's, trust less.
Right.
So, which is great because, to be honest with you, I've not had, it's, like first world problems or whatever, but like, I open up a savings account or whatever for my daughter, and then the bank says, well, she has to have a minimum and she doesn't meet the minimum, so we're going to fine her every month that she doesn't meet the minimum, and they just steal the money.
There's a lot of rules involved, and those are little minor things that we're accustomed to here in the U.S. But
there's much bigger problems for the rest of the world, especially in other countries, which I know you're about to talk about.
So it's kind of been an evolving thing going back to May, actually.
Okay.
Where in the Henan province, I hope I say that right, especially, they have basically told people that had money in savings that they couldn't withdraw their finances or their money. So to the point that they have actually, I don't know what it means, but they've reclassified their savings as investment products, and they're not allowed to withdraw them.
That's crazy. So, like, what are they living on?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. And, of course, that's spurred protests. People obviously aren't very happy about.
I assume is what the picture is up on the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of been one of the more common images I've seen related to this story. And it's one of those stories I'm actually surprised, maybe because it's been a little bit of a slow burn because it goes back, a few months. But I'm surprised this one isn't like all over the place. It's not hard to find, but it's not like front page news either.
Well, is it a matter of like, China controlling kind of the narrative there and not allowing this stuff as much to come out?
It could be, but even in
maybe that we just expect that from China. I mean, you look back at how they handled COVID and the lockdowns and the like disappearing people and stuff, and that was like hardly on the news at all. People were being disappeared.
I know, they were just being disappeared, but I mean, the thing is, it's just weird. Like maybe it's us being a little self-centered about just only wanting to look at U.S. related news or whatever. But I'm surprised this isn't bigger. And I mean, it's to the point, you see in that picture, there's a tank there.
Right.
People are protesting at a level that they've rolled out the military and they've parked tanks in front of banks to, scare people away because they were, protesting and rioting at the banks to try to get their
Well, yeah, because they
money.
Need their money to like live, presumably.
So it's pretty frightening. It sounds like a small handful of people have been allowed to get their money, so things are changing maybe a little bit. But the news that's
How do you get on that list?
Yeah, I know. The news that's coming out is, China, of course, they control their media, and they're like, well, we're going to let everybody, withdraw their savings now. And then the real story is there's been a small group, probably people heavily tied to the government, that have been able to get it, but it's not been like the majority of people. And of course, it's scary because at some point they're probably going to have to trust the bank again because China has really, tightened their grip on crypto unless it's their digital currency. So, I mean, it's got to be hugely frightening to them. But
I bet. I
don't
hope I never have to imagine that.
And I mean,
for us,
and the reasons for locking all this stuff down aren't even really good. It could be maybe related to all the lockdowns you talked about. with COVID.
Oh, like we don't even know why?
Yeah, none of the reasons are really great. They've had some, I guess, some employment issues and some financial issues too, but the pure reason for, just preventing these people from having access to their money, none of it's really good. So it just basically feels like a government cash grab on China's part. So
oh man, that's
terrifying. That
is really terrifying. I mean, you're right though. This is definitely a great pitch for why
crypto might be important someday.
Yeah.
Or now. But yeah, it's
terrifying.
I wish there was actually more details other than they're just not letting people have their money, and they're calling it crazy things like investment product. Like what does that even mean? Does that mean it's like a stock now or
when COVID was first happening in China and they were doing all of the disappearing of people and like locking people down in their apartments, they weren't allowed to leave under armed guard and that kind of stuff. The way that I experienced that news, and I think a lot of people probably were experiencing it similarly, is it's not like you would turn on the TV and old-fashioned news style, you would see it on NBC or whatever, or CBS or whatever, or CNN. You didn't see that kind of thing on normal American like news sites. You wouldn't see it on the web. You didn't see articles about it. Not really. You would occasionally see stuff on like Medium. So it's like, some person's blog post or whatever, usually about videos that had managed to get posted on platforms like YouTube or TikTok, that had first person accounts. So rather than going at, searching out that news the traditional route, I went on forums like TikTok and actually sought it out. Like I was searching for it and stuff and just trying to find news about it from people who were actually experiencing
from
that
individuals
event.
That sometimes leaks out.
Exactly.
But they're pretty brave too, because some of those people that leaked that stuff out,
they're gone.
They've disappeared too.
Yeah, they're just poof. It definitely makes you think, okay, so, it's a dangerous thing to try and tell the world what's happening, but it needs to be done. And I commend every one of them that was so brave to spread the word. Not that it did any, it did any good for them. It didn't do any good to change what was happening over there. But, I think maybe it would be pertinent to, seek out some news kind of firsthand accounts that are happening online and see if we can find something.
Find some more info.
Yeah, maybe we can, share some of that on our social media pages. Because, you're right. It definitely relates directly to the case for a trustless blockchain platform solution.
Absolutely. So, and that actually kind of ties into kind of the next thing I wanted to bring up that's I think is really exciting. Maybe we'll see if it comes to fruition. But the Ethereum Merge, some of the developers with Ethereum have back on July 14th said that they think potentially maybe October, September, they might be ready for the merge.
September, they're shooting for that kind of like drop dead date or whatever for the launch. It's the first major step that, dApps and things are going to need.
Right.
To really bring down those transaction costs.
Right. So they'll be moving. So what the merge is they'll be moving from a proof of work to proof of stake. And proof of work is, if you ever hear anybody talk kind of negative about cryptocurrency, that's the one.
They're talking about mining.
They're talking about mining mostly, but that's
right.
That's the transactions take a long time and they're very expensive, use a lot of energy, and there's a lot of downsides to that method, even though it's kind of important to ensure your transaction is valid or there are valid transactions. Where proof of stake, speeds up those transaction speeds. So it'll be nice because now your cryptocurrency will be easier to make a transaction. So if you wanted to convert it back to fiat, or if you wanted to take one cryptocurrency and purchase another one with it, or maybe use it in a store, or like you said, the fact that now DAOs and dApps and that kind of stuff may become more feasible because of those transaction speeds are much, much faster and less expensive. They'll be possible. And then for anybody who's kind of been hesitant or disliked the idea of cryptocurrency because of the environmental impacts. There's a whole lot you could talk about there, but the energy cost for that will be so much lower. So it should make it more environmentally friendly as well. And there's companies out there too that say that they can be carbon neutral that are working on some of these blockchains here soon too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different the folks kind of working on proof of fill in the blank solutions that
speed things up.
Yeah, with the goal of kind of speeding up and making the transactions, the cost be negligible.
Right.
And that's definitely key to this kind of working. You need it to be able to move fast and cheaply.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very exciting to see. For anybody that's actually watching our podcast, which I know feels weird to say, but we have it up on our board. Your little Ethereum art that you found. Yeah.
Well, I'm optimistically cautious, or whatever you normally say there, because the merge has been coming for quite some time.
I think it's cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously
if you reversed
optimistic.
It, yeah,
I might have.
Dyslexia.
I'm good at that. But this is definitely something that's been a long time coming. And if you follow the crypto markets, we've talked a couple times about crypto winter and the crypto freeze.
Right. There's definitely been a rebound.
There's been a little bit of a rebound, and overall Ethereum has been up this week because of that announcement.
Right.
And of course, with them being up, some of the other coins, Bitcoin is also up this week overall. So, it's kind of helped the markets a little bit if, you're on the investment side of things. But it'll be exciting to hopefully see it in September and see if the merge comes. And it's exciting to me because it'll be a change that I think makes the idea and the use of cryptocurrency more accessible to everybody. Like, that's the whole goal of it anyway.
Right.
And because of some of the stuff related to the fees and transactions, I think it's still a little bit out of reach for some of the folks.
It is. I mean, if you're just trying to dabble in it and understand it and learn it, and you don't want to spend even hundreds of dollars or whatever on trying it out, and just trying to learn so that you don't, so you're not completely ignorant to it. If you're just trying a little bit, it makes it really difficult right now when the transaction costs are so high. It's like, okay, well, I have, this much Ethereum, for example, and I just want to swap it out and try some, I don't know, Ripple or Litecoin or Bitcoin or whatever, and just diversify a little bit and try a couple of different things. You can't really do that. I know a few people that were trying out stuff and they were just kind of stuck.
Right.
It was like, okay, well, I changed out my fiat money for Ethereum
and now what?
In my Coinbase wallet, and now I can't do anything else with it because I don't have enough to cover the gas.
Right. So it'll be a huge change, and I think it'll bring it to many more people.
Yeah.
So the next one's more on the gaming side. So gaming seems to be one of the biggest things whenever there's new technology, whether it's VR or augmented reality, or we start talking about blockchain, somebody starts developing games for it or try to adapt that new technology to maybe the game that already exists. And some don't. So Minecraft, there's a couple game makers to talk about. So Minecraft, which his parent company is Microsoft.
Right.
They have basically said that they will not be integrating any NFT support anytime soon into Minecraft.
It's an interesting decision.
So I think Minecraft, and I don't know that I fully understand it, but it's a decision they've made. They left the door cracked open a little bit for changing their mind in the future. But Minecraft, a game where you have skins and you can have different types of ores and you can have different types of items, seems like it would be a perfect fit for NFTs. The reasons they said they didn't want to create NFT support, I feel like come from a lack of understanding, which is weird coming from a technology company. But they, first of all,
especially
they said,
one that has HoloLens, like you would think they'd be all in on this kind of thing.
So one of the things they said is they want everybody to feel like they're on a level playing field inside Minecraft. And I totally get that. It's a very open game, very community-based game. There's lots of different Minecraft servers out there, and that type of thing. But they're scared that the NFTs will create items that have some level of scarcity.
Well, yes. That's kind of the whole point behind the NFT, correct?
I think so. But, being that they're Minecraft, the idea of an NFT doesn't necessarily, like, unless I'm thinking of it wrong, doesn't necessarily mean scarcity. Like, you could make scarce items, but you can make very common items too.
Sure, but if you had number one of 500,031 of that exact same thing, like your number one is scarce. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you still end up with a scarcity, and that's their biggest fear. They mentioned some others, which it just sounds like they just wanted to make their list of reasons a little bit longer. Like they mentioned fraud and lack of quality controls. And maybe that's related to other people making like interoperability type stuff where somebody else makes the NFT. Because I was thinking initially maybe Minecraft could control the NFT creation. And then maybe that eliminates their quality control issues or their scarcity. But then you kind of get rid of the interoperability stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, but some game makers are allowing it.
They are allowing it, or they're getting creative to incorporate NFTs into their business. So Final Fantasy, or Square Enix, I should say, is kind of taking a slightly different approach. So they haven't said they're going to allow them in game yet, but if you've ever been a Final Fantasy fan, it's a wonderful role-playing game. There's, it's been around for ages.
I play this game that's like pre-done.
Right.
It's not and it's not usually cooperative.
Well, that's actually changed. They do have some co-op play versions.
But like it's not what you think of when you think of Final Fantasy. That's for sure.
Sure. Now what they're doing is Final Fantasy and Square Enix have also created a huge collectibles segment related to the game. So their characters have become super popular, and they've been able to sell, not just the games, but also figurines and, other collectible items. So their route is not necessarily incorporating it into the game, at least not yet, but they have started their first NFT project. It'll be based around Final Fantasy VII. So if you're a fan of Cloud and Sephiroth and all those cool characters. Phoebe.
No, Vivi.
Vivi. No.
Vivi.
Oh, no, he was 8, if I remember right. He was the little short wizard guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said if you're a fan of characters, and I was a fan
you
of
like Vivi. Yeah, Vivi's cute. I like Vivi.
That's all I was saying.
Anyway, so you'll be able to buy the Square Enix figures, and they will also be tied to a digital NFT. So you'll be able to purchase the character, then go online and get the NFT that comes with it. And then they also have some collectible cards, I think, related to the characters that also have some sort of NFT aspect to them as well. So it doesn't always have to be, something in-game, although I think that's way cooler for what it's worth. I think if they had a co-op version of Final Fantasy with item NFTs that you could either win or purchase or whatever, that'd be amazing.
Kind of related to that. It's not game, but like related to that, have a physical thing, then have an NFT of a physical thing, or related to the physical thing. I saw surfing online, and I saw an in-feed ad. And it was for this like jewelry. It was like, some kind of little stone necklace thing. Mm-hmm. And when you pointed your camera at it to video or whatever of that, it showed like a little dragon like hatching out of the
that's pretty cool.
Stone, and it like breathed fire or whatever. And it just kind of made me think, oh, okay, so maybe that's not an NFT by any means, but it's where my brain went like immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this should be an NFT. Well, if it isn't already. I mean, I didn't click the ad because I have no interest in buying that thing, but I think it was a neat idea. Yeah, it was totally a neat idea. So when you're thinking about, all the different ways that this could
Sure.
kind of play out and how people might enjoy it.
Well-
That's just another one. It's very relatable to what you were saying.
Well, actually, I love that idea because it's a different use of NFTs. Because if you're talking about an NFT, which is like a something you can get inside a game, you know,
Yeah.
you can buy an NFT of a new skin for your character, or the idea of the figurine that has a corresponding NFT to it. Those are both great things, but those are kind of like the typical, I feel like, NFT idea. That's a little bit different. I think you mentioned one to me the other day too about how future filmmakers may be able to sell NFTs to get their movies funded instead of going the normal production route.
Was that not one we covered in a podcast?
I don't think we did, actually. I
because
think
like
we
Kevin
talked about
Smith
it a
was
lot.
doing stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, maybe we didn't talk about it.
Or if we did, it was kind of, you know, we meandered from one
passing.
subject to another and kind of talked about it.
Well,
But those are
it's-
are kind of the idea of an NFT that people don't think about is the freedom it may give you. You may not necessarily have to be a artist or have a lot of funding, I should say, to get that NFT minted. You could just create those NFTs, have people fund your project, and get that completed that way instead of going and finding, you know, some big investment firm who's then going to control your project. Like you hear a lot of these directors complain that, you know, they have this great idea or writers for a project, and then they get tied to a big production company, and then they tell them, okay, well, if you're going to make this movie, we're going to fund it, but you're going to add this character or you're going to change some things around, and they lose kind of that creative capability that they had.
Yeah, I love seeing all these different ideas for NFTs and how they could be implemented and useful. And that's kind of the big thing. A lot of people, at least in the beginning of seeing it more mainstream, okay? I'm not going to say it's mainstream. I don't know the NFTs or understanding of NFTs by any means is mainstream. But when normal people, that was a bad word.
Normal people.
Look, I know I'm not normal, but I'm just saying like people who aren't into tech, new tech and into this stuff, right?
Right.
Crypto, blockchain, metaverse and all of that kind of leading edge stuff.
It's a fun subject at parties, let me tell you.
Yeah. So like when the average person who's not into that starts asking questions to you, like the first ones that I encountered were people going, well, but like, why? Why would I buy it? What would I use it for?
Right.
And it's like, there's more and more instances of how to use it and how it could be useful that I think that I find exciting, you know, like it's great. Cause then now I have even more answers. When people are asking, that's like, well, why don't I use it?
Well,
that's why.
Imagine crowdfunding a creative project and not having to use like a GoFundMe or someone who, of course, we're getting back to talking about blockchain versus centralized or
I'm not
trustless
even thinking about it
trustful.
in terms of crowdfunding. Like, you know, it's not just that, but you could actually like give people creative ability to help you make this thing.
Right.
Yeah, not just like in a funding capacity.
Oh,
I mean, like,
get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like actually helping you make decisions about it that help make it.
Oh, absolutely. Like a DAO only for a creative project.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Be pretty cool. Everybody's got a little bit of input. That actually surprisingly works because you saw during the pandemic, there was a couple stories and a couple musicals that were written by whole groups of people where
Ratatouille on TikTok. Yeah.
where they basically somebody wrote a song and then somebody took it to the next step.
Well,
and
there
kinda
was
built it.
Black Mirror, right? The series on Netflix. They did something. It's not this, but it's very similarly thought. So you voted, and that changed where the story went at periodic turning points.
Right. Okay.
And at least I think that's how it went down, if I'm remembering it right. And so at the end, you could have had a very different overall story.
Well, at the very least, it's a fascinating
than
idea.
the next person.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I think it's kind of a neat way to engage your audience. It's it's just different. It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda out of the box, kind of.
Yeah, I really love the idea of getting people involved in that stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be created in a silo. You know,
Sure.
I mean, you can obviously and be highly successful, but I'm just saying, like, it's really exciting to think about all the creativity that exists
Sure.
in the world and like pulling that in and making something truly phenomenal. It's just exciting.
It is exciting. And
leveraging tech to help make it even better.
Yes.
On that note, though, before we move on, because I know you have another story that you probably want to get to, but I got my invitation to the DALL-E beta.
That's fun.
So I was playing with that some, and I know it's not blockchain, but I like, my brain immediately went, you should sell these as NFTs, because, you know, it's some cool stuff, and you just cool like stuff. I don't know if everybody knows what DALL-E is. I don't know how you wouldn't know at this point, but like, you put in words that describe what it is that you're thinking you want to see, and you just put them in and hit enter, and it pops out like 4 different AI generated art pieces. I'm going to say art pieces for you that are what the AI's interpretation of your words, you know, are represented visually. I don't know.
Well, who's to say, you know, whether you use AI or a paintbrush or a pencil, you know, that a certain medium for creating that art isn't valid.
Right.
So if you're using the DALL-E AI to create your art, it's still art. I mean, you put the words in, they were unique, and a unique piece of art.
Well, you
or
could put the
picture came
same
out.
words in over and over again and you get different results.
Right. And you get different results. So it's still kind of unique. So, you know, it's different kind of art.
Yeah.
And
I posed the question to just, you know, my friends and stuff online, and I was like, hey, does this mean that artists are obsolete? Which, you know, obviously they're not, but it definitely not yet anyway, but I don't think they ever really would be. And then my other part of that question was, does it mean that you have to like sort of shift what art actually is? And so you become more of a descriptive wordsmith so that you can actually output images that, you know, you would actually make if you were painting, for example.
Well, I don't know that the shift is that much. I mean, a lot of people, I think people who can write great short stories and novels and stuff like that are artists too. I mean, it's a different kind. We think of it as, we don't always think of it like a painting or a photo, but it's art.
Well, the shift in technology, you always wonder how it will change things in a particular field, right? Like, for example, robots making your food.
Sure.
Like, there's lots of different ways that could happen and how it could shift, and how does it change people's jobs? Like, how, like, does it mean what you always hear, oh, well, robots are putting people out of jobs or whatever? That's not, I don't think that's true. I think it just shifts what the job actually becomes. And so your job then becomes the things that robots can't do, or repairing the robots, right?
Sure.
And just for example, quick example.
Well, yeah, and we've watched, or at least I watched something on that, and you know, the part that people always focus on is, you know, people losing their jobs part, but the good of robots being able to cook, like tons of people have talked about how that could eliminate things like food scarcity, and in a world where people are way busier than they ever used to be, you know, they don't cook. And it's a shame to see that, like a language dying. It's a shame to see that people are losing the basic skill of learning how to cook. But on the flip side, I don't think it gets rid of chefs. I think the nuance of somebody cooking your food from scratch versus a robot adds consistency. Imagine if you could get almost a Michelin star level steak.
Right.
Every time.
Consistently.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you actually have that Michelin star chef cook that steak for you, it's always going to be slightly different each time. And there's always going to be people who seek that out. You know,
right.
So they're never going to go away.
So the art shifts a little bit, and the people who enjoy it maybe shift a little bit. And so, yeah, I could see that. And I know that it's not, you know, I bring it up because I'm excited about the technology, and kind of where it goes from here. And I've got another beta that I need to do too that is kind of the similar thing.
Right.
But yeah, like I just look at that and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I really am excited to see where this goes and how this changes things and what people do with it, because humans are very creative, and seeing what somebody does with that new tool to make even more amazing art that you never would have thought of before.
Right.
Like, I find that really exciting. And seeing so many of my artist friends start to embrace NFTs and like kind of that side of their artwork and publishing and all of that, like, I'm excited for the art itself, and I'm also excited for like how they monetize themselves and, you know, how they leverage new technology to make their art better and make them their lives better overall, because they're able to,
and they get more control over their art.
Exactly. They control all of that. They own it, and they are able to profit off of it finally, you know? So like, I'm really, I don't know. I think it's really cool, even though it's not directly related, it's like sort of related. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And then you get to enjoy your art with your Google glasses.
That's a nice try to segue there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
so like you're talking about the Google glasses that we kind of covered.
We covered another podcast. They had
ago.
a developer event, and they did a demo, or they had a video, I think. And it actually featured the picture.
Right. They did this in Google I/O, right? Okay.
And so they are actually at the point where they're going to start testing the glasses in public. So they're going to do that again. I don't know if it's like technically a beta, or they're just going to give it out to certain people that are part of like their test programs, but they're going to start testing in public as soon as like September, which means they have something that they really like. When I saw the video they put out of the glasses translating speech in real time from one language to another.
Yeah.
I felt like the video was like a sizzle reel. I hate that term, but it's like, this is what we're making and this is what it could look like kind of thing, but wasn't necessarily, you know,
it's always the marketing version,
the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
But if they're going to start testing it in public, then those were probably real, what we saw, which is exciting, because these will have a microphone inside of them.
Okay.
Sound, microphone, cameras. And then they will actually have...
It'll have cameras? I didn't see cameras on it.
It'll have a camera, front-facing camera, and it'll have a screen.
Okay.
So
where's the camera? Because like presumably she's wearing them in this picture, and I do not see cameras.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not on that one. Maybe it's on a different one.
Oh.
But the version that they're going to have is going to have a camera. A couple of the articles I read said they're trying to get it out there, maybe to get ahead of some of the privacy stuff. Because, you know, Google...
are they like hoping they get grandfathered in or something?
Well, no. I think it has more to do with... So Google tried this once before, many years ago, with Google Glass. And it had a camera as well. And it created a lot of privacy concerns, because you could hit record and people wouldn't know. And that made a lot of people nervous. People started calling them glass holes. There was all kinds of controversy around it. Even though it was a huge step forward, I think, in technology. But they're learning from their mistakes. They want to put this back out in public and see how it's accepted. I think the world's changed now. I think people are more open to that, because, I mean, there's cameras and everything.
Well, yeah.
So everybody's getting their picture taken all the time.
Those kind of happened before everybody got accustomed to cameras being everywhere.
I think it's funny. They even said that there will be a red LED that turns on when somebody's recording, so you know if they're recording with their glasses.
Right.
Although if somebody wanted to get rid of that, I'm sure that won't take long to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. They're going to have that, which makes me think that they have something that's very close to production too, if they're wanting to get out there and test in public and, you know, not only see how well it works, but also see what people's reactions are to them. So.
Yeah. Was there any news about like when a normal person might be able to buy it, or it was just solely about beta testing?
Probably around September, the testing will start, but they didn't really have a launch time or date.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but supposedly
September's just around the corner, right?
It'll have it's right around the corner. And supposedly they'll have some test applications, including the translation demo
Yeah.
that we saw, which is
I mean, we've spent a little bit of
super
time
killer.
kind of looking at all of the different linguistic technology, I guess, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, that Google's been working on. And, you know, when they released like their AI assistant that, you know, could handle your phone calls and that kind of stuff, and people couldn't tell the difference when they were on the phone. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to me that they're kind of coming at it this way, like using the language as kind of the vehicle, the first steps for them trying to get people to mass adopt it and want it, you know. It's a comfortable area for them. It's an area where they've definitely been leading the pack. So yeah, it's pretty exciting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if it has the things in it that they say that it's going to have, I'm excited. Yeah, I need new glasses, and I've been considering some Ray-Ban Stories, but there's some hesitancy on my part because of how they connect and all that other stuff.
Right,
and
the typical Facebook way.
And I really don't know how much I would use them. Like, I'm fascinated by the tech, but I don't know how much I would actually use them. I'm not a big, you know, Instagram story poster or Facebook story poster. So, and that's kind of what they're built around. So I'm not.
Right. But maybe you would be if you.
But maybe I would be if I had them.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you know, the Google tech has like the heads up display.
Yeah.
You know, the clear LED screens that can show you information that might be useful. And that, I don't know. Maybe I should wait for those. I don't know. Or get both. That sounds way better. I need to get both.
Oh, jeez.
So.
All right.
Well,
we're going to need a crowdfunding project or something.
Yeah, we need our own. We need our own crypto or NFT project.
On that note, you should definitely subscribe.
Please leave a comment.
We'll post a link to the GoFundMe page.
And we'll see you on the next one.